test on the 2011 Range Rover Sport. This truck is a 5-liter naturally aspirated engine. It is going to be identical to the process you're going to do on the supercharged 5-liter engine and the supercharged 3-liter engine that Jag used from 2010 to 2022, I think. It's going to be a really similar process to how you have to check the pressure on the 3.2 liter that you might have in a early 2000s LR2 or Freelander. And I think the new Ingenium engines that they started using in the mid-2010s are going to be the same way. So the reason this is kind of a unique process on these trucks is that we don't have an oil pressure sensor on these engines, which is kind of the reason the LR4 is pulled apart the way that it is right now. They didn't put a sensor in there. Normally what we would do if we were working on like a 4.6 Rover or something like that is we would take that oil pressure sensor off, we'd plug this test kit in, and then we'd run our test. There's nowhere that we can plug into this oil system there that's built into the truck. So what you have to do is you have to buy a special oil filter housing cap from Land Rover that you would put in here, plug your tester in, and that's how you check it. The problem with that is when I tried to buy one from Land Rover, they basically told me get lost. And on the forums, I found other people that said that they did manage to buy one from Jag and that it was $750. I'm going to roll over to the bench here in a minute and show you what this is, but it's just ridiculous to be charging that much for basically just an oil filter housing with a gridded cap on it. So I had to order a big case of these just to get one because I had to have this company make them for me. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to list these. I'll put a link in here where you guys can go to them. I'm going to list these for what I have in them just to make them available for you guys. My guess would be that in the near future, this Chinese company is going to start selling these in the US, and they're probably going to sell so many of them that they're selling them to you guys cheaper than I could even buy them for. So when that happens, I'll change that link out and just give you guys a good place to buy them from. But until then, I'll try to make these available for you guys and find a way to sell them. I'll put a link with how I'm going to do that because I don't really know what I'm going to do yet. But with all that said, I'm going to roll over to the bench here and show you what we're going to use to do this. So you guys can see, this is the test cap here. This is the original oil filter housing cap off my LR4. They're identical. There's nothing special about the dimensions of them. The only thing unique to it is that it has this threaded brass nipple in the top of it. And that's going to allow us to thread this oil pressure tester into it so that we can see what our oil pressure is. The good thing about the way that they do this is that really the only tools that you need to do this you should have, with the exception of the tester and the cap. All we're going to need is you're going to need your oil filter housing socket and then a wrench to turn that. This realistically should be like a 10-minute job once I've got everything here. It should be easier than doing an oil change, really. So with all that, I'm going to jump over here and start tearing into it for you guys. So the first thing we've got to do is make sure that our oil level is okay. So we'll let the truck go through its thing here. Not happy because I didn't hit the brake to start it. And our oil level is okay. So if you guys don't know, people get confused about this sometimes. When you look at these and it shows my oil level, it looks like my oil level was halfway low. What this actually means is that we're half a quart low or half a liter low probably. But these work just like the end of a dipstick. When you look at it, when it's to the minimum, you need to add a quart. These are the same way. So if you look at it like this and it's at the minimum, it doesn't mean you're completely out of oil. It means you need to add a quart to it. So we'll go ahead and jump out here and start getting this thing taken apart. Okay, so we're just going to open stuff up like we're doing an oil change here. Throw your damper out of the way. Now, we're supposed to be doing this. The first pressure reading we're going to take is going to be at room temperature right on startup. That needs to be 68 degrees Fahrenheit. It doesn't actually specify whether or not the temperatures it's giving us are coolant temperatures or oil temperature. I'm going to assume that it's coolant because it's easier to get those readings on the IID tool, but I'm going to watch both of those as we do this to see what they're actually giving us. All right, now we're just going to throw the filter in the new special housing here. And then go back over here and throw this in there. I'll go ahead and kind of lube up our O-ring a little bit there. Okay, so I added some plumber's tape to this just because my wife is going to be thrilled with me if I spill oil down the side of her engine and it smells like smoking oil when I get it back to her. So now I'm just threading this test kit in here. This is a cheap test kit. It would be really nice if this thing could swivel or if it had the quick attach on the other end of it, but it does not, so this is what I got. Okay, so Tuck's going to help us do this. So basically what we're looking for is we're going to start this up at idle. If you can see, I've got it brought up here. I'll give you guys this video on the side here. But we're going to start it up at room temperature. At an idle, we should be making 29 psi. At room temperature at 1500 RPMs, we should be making 87 psi. At 104 degrees, at 3000 RPMs, we should be making 90 psi. At 230 degrees, it should be making 72.5 psi. And at 266 degrees, it should be making 58 psi. So we'll go ahead and check this now. Can you go ahead and start it, Tuck? Waiting on it to come down to an idle here. So you can see there we're making about 90 psi. Alright, there's our idle about 800 RPMs and we are making 84 psi. So that is quite a bit more than what the minimum is. So Tucker, can you give us 1500 RPMs? Hold it at 1500. There we go. So we're still making 88 psi. We're supposed to be making 87, so that's right on the money. Okay, you can let it idle. So now I'm waiting on, sorry, I keep getting in the way. Now we're waiting on our engine or our oil temp to come up to 104 psi or 104 degrees. And then we'll check, we'll be looking at 90 psi when we get that. At 3000 RPMs. 103 degrees. Okay, Chuck, can you give us 3000 RPMs and hold it there? And there's 90 psi. And there's 3000, okay? Now it's got to warm up the water. Okay guys, we're almost to 180 degrees. I don't know where it's reading our engine oil temperature and it is not keeping up with this, so we're just going to go ahead and read it here because I know that we've got good readings on it already. You can see here we're at 180 degrees. Our operating temperature is 180 degrees. We're still about 32, 33 psi. Okay, go ahead and give us 3000. Okay, so that was 84 psi. We were looking for 72.5, so this thing passes perfectly. We're right at 29 there, even though it's warmed up. That spec of 29 was at room temperature, so I don't know at operating temperature. I don't know what that should be, but that's where we are right now. So we're going to go ahead and shut it down here. Okay guys, so this one pretty much met all the specs right on. It never got down below 29 PSI at any point. Again, that was warmed up, and the spec for 29 PSI is at room temperature at 68 degrees. So I don't know if we should never expect it to go below 29 or if that's just that starting pressure. So I don't really have a spec for that. If one of you guys knows the answer to that question, maybe throw it in here in the comments or something like that. But, just about got that all over me. But everything else checked out fine. I'm gonna go ahead and jump over to the bench once I pull this out and get our filter switched around. I didn't have a spare filter laying around, and I thought I did. When you guys are doing this, I would probably go buy a dedicated filter for this. It had an O-ring on that filter housing, but especially if you do this more than once, I would put a new O-ring on this when you're doing it, and then put your new O-ring on when you put your filter back in. It'd be real easy to do this when you're doing an oil change, or if you're doing your coolant crossover or anything like that and you're getting in here, you can go ahead and check that. So I'll go ahead and get this pulled out and roll over back to the bench here and finish up. All right, so now I'm just going to swap this back over. Again, I should be putting a new oil filter in here, I'm sure, but thought I broke one of the tabs off of it. I was going to say, maybe I am putting a new oil filter in here. I would put a new oil filter in when you do this. I just don't have one around, and she's going to be doing her oil here in a week or two anyway, so I'm not too worried about it. But you saw this is pretty straightforward. It actually took longer than I thought because it took a while for the engine to get up to temperature, but really it was 10 minutes of work and 20 minutes of waiting. So this is something easy you guys could knock out. If there's anything you're trying to diagnose or anything you're wanting to check on your engines, you could do this pretty easily during an oil change. So you guys can see this is pretty straightforward. It would be really easy for you guys to do this in 10 minutes or so during an oil change. You could pull your old oil filter out of the factory housing, stick it in this test cap, check your oil pressure, and then throw your new oil filter in the factory housing, stick it all back together and be good. It took me a lot longer because I was trying to get the engine up to temperature. It wanted 230 and 260 degree temps on the last two readings, and it never got over 200. That might be because it's pretty cool out here and it's just a static. We're just idling it, trying to get it up to temperature. I'm gonna keep the gap tool in it and go drive around for a little bit and see if that temp ever comes up when it's actually driving. But I also don't even actually know that that's supposed to be oil temperature. They don't tell you what the temp is in that chart. They just say, they give you a line that says RPMs, a line that says temperature, and a line that says PSI. At first I thought it was coolant temperature. I might even have said that in this video until I looked at it and realized that one of the temps was 260. I don't think they want you to get your coolant up to 260 degrees to check this. So it is probably oil temperature, but maybe they're wanting you to take a block temperature somewhere or something like that they don't specify. And that's really kind of the pain of these service manuals from like the mid 2000s forward. The old Rave manuals were extremely detailed. The ones for the Disco 1, Disco 2, the P38 Range Rovers, the Defenders, they gave you really detailed, good instructions. And these topics manuals are like, they're glorified picture books because they give you these specs. They don't give you any context for how you're supposed to do it. I'm assuming they have a tech training program that would fill in those blanks, but you know, it's great that they give us access to all that stuff, but it's kind of hard to be too grateful when they don't let you have all of the other information that goes along with it. They won't even give you the information to rebuild these engines that they build. So I don't know. I'm still kind of lukewarm on it, but it is what it is. I think that's all I've got for you guys today, though. So if there's anything else that I've skimmed over or anything else you guys want to know about this, just let me know. Otherwise, have a good one, guys.